49. $53.
Just amusing himself with a slightly more difficult positional shot for blue than was necessary. That break of 53 by Steve Davis guarantees him a 3 frames to nil lead. So, welcome back. And,
Fourth frame, Steve Davis to break.
And Steve Davis enjoying himself rather more at the moment than Willie Thorne. One close frame to Davis, 2 comfortable ones, 3-0 ahead. Can't be bad.
Nine. $16. $17.
There's no better player in the world than Willie Thorne round the black spot. .65 maximum breaks he's had. That is 15 reds, 15 blacks and all the colours.
24.
And indeed, he almost had one in the semi-final here the day before yesterday.
25.
When he had 14 reds, 14 blacks against Tony Knowles. A match that he eventually won 8-7.
$32.
Well, that's gone wrong. He intended the cue ball to stay more or less where the pack is, to leave himself on the red that he's now having to play. Just possible that he could knock in the red which is already over the baulk pocket. How did that go in? He asks.
40.
Pockets, of course, are, as all championship pockets are, 3.5 inches across at the entrance.
41.
But it is fair to say that the shape of the pocket entrances is cut slightly sympathetically.
$48.
Position lost. Top red to the baulk pocket is a possibility if he can get past the first red. .48 break to Willie Thorne, but He's a little disappointed to have left the red for Davis. An unkind run of the ball for him.
One.
Davis asking referee Bob Hargrove from St John, New Brunswick, to clean the cue ball. We've had quite a lot of what are known in the trade as kicks this week. That is a slightly odd contact as the cue ball strikes the object ball.
One.
Instead of a clean impact, there's a sort of jump and erratic throw.
Three. Four. Eleven.
Well, in the mood that Davis is in, I think he could make a big dent in Thorne's 48-point lead at this visit to the table. Indeed, it might be that Thorne doesn't get another visit to the table.
$19.
Slightly short on that one, though. He wanted to be straighter on the red to the middle pocket.
Davis, 20.
Well, that was amazing. That was really amazing. After looking as if he couldn't miss, Davis misses a shot that anybody could have got.
One.
Nobody more relieved than Thorne, I'm sure.
Six. Seven. $14. 15. $22.
So Thorne has passed the winning post in this frame,
23.
and he'll feel much better for having got off the mark.
$29. 30.
Davis has whitewashed some great players in his time. Dennis Taylor, Jimmy White and Terry Griffiths
36.
are among those that he's beaten 9 frames to 0. So at least Thorne won't
38.
suffer that fate.
45. 50. 56.
Breaks of 56 and 53 by Davis in the last two frames. Run of 63. After
frame,
the
Willie Thorne to break. Steve Davis leads 3 frames to 1.
welcome back then after the intermission to this first session of the BCE Canadian Masters final. Willie Thorne breaking off in the 5th frame. Steve Davis leading by 3 frames to 1. And having missed 3 of those very thin edges on that type of safety shot in the earlier frames, Davis hit that one perfectly. Three more frames in this opening session, and as many of the remaining 10 as are necessary this evening. This is live action, and often on highlights programs you don't see all that much of this phase of the game, but it's nonetheless fascinating for the enthusiast. Thorne was the first to go for a pot, but he was careful to get the cue ball through the other reds to at least have a chance of safety if he missed. He appears to have left this red to the left corner though. Too thick a contact in potting the red by Davis. He intended to be on the blue from that, but the thicker contact killed the speed of the ball.
Steve Davis, 1.
The reigning Dulux British Open champion is Davis. He beat Willie Thorne in that final, 12 frames to 7. And in fact, Davis also beat Thorne in the United Kingdom Championship final, 16 frames to 14. Davis requests referee Bob Hargrove to clean the cue ball. Perhaps a hint of humidity here in Studio 7, and because of that perhaps the cue ball is picking up slightly more in the way of chalk and little specks than it usually does.
One. Eight. Steve Davis, 8.
Well, Davis just tried to squeeze a little bit off the angle there to get the cue ball back for the black. Slightly awkward shot, and a welcome reprieve as far as Thorne is concerned. Not a difficult shot that Thorne's just missed. Indeed, it was a simple red to the middle which cost him the opening frame when he was 55 in front.
One.
First to win
6.
9 frames takes the Canadian Masters title.
7.
And with it a prize of $37,500.
$13.
Davis just checking to see where he wants to be on the back red in the cluster.
$20. 21. 28. 29.
The percentage shot is probably to pot blue and play on the isolated red behind the black. He would have been taking a risk to
34.
open the pack with a couple of reds still loose.
35. 42. 43.
Green looks as if it could be the ball, but it's a good shot to open the pack from there. Davis would prefer to have a slightly fuller angle and also to have the cue ball a little further from the cushion.
Steve Davis, 43.
He misses the green. Fortunately for him, he misses the split as well. An anxious look from Thorne. I would gather from his expression that he hasn't covered the red. A simple matter for Davis to pot it cushion first,
1.
and also beautifully judged to leave a pack opening position from the blue. Not quite according to plan.
Steve Davis, 6.
So Willie Thorne still under pressure, down 3 frames to 1, and 58-0 in the 5th. Good safety by Thorne, and he'll be pleased to have covered the isolated red. That means that Davis, with his safety shot, has got to open the bunch, unless of course he were to play very slowly off the cushion to the isolated red. Just having a look at the bunch of reds to see that if he does play a safety off them, where the reds are likely to go. Good defence by Davis. Thorne can't really play safe off the bunch because there would be a danger of leaving the red that he's now playing. And by hiding that red, he has forced Davis to open the bunch. Not an easy red, but he did need it to get in. He could have paid dividends because the black was available. First to win 9 frames, takes the Canadian Masters title. Something chess-like about these exchanges. You've not only got to think of your own move, but your opponent's likely response to it. Sometimes think that chess players of the like of Karpov and Kasparov would enjoy this game if they ever were introduced to it. Thorne can see the red. Could pay dividends if it goes in. Awkward queuing for Davis, this.
One.
Just concentrated 100% on the pot. He's the man with a lead to defend. Pretty good mental arithmetic by Davis, that.
4.
Just the green now leaves Thorne needing a snooker. The green putting Davis 62 in front with only 59 on the table. So that was why Davis just played the pot. Made no attempt whatsoever to play position. The green, of course, being a difficult pot.
Steve Davis, 4.
And what Davis will be trying to avoid in this situation is letting Thorne in for an easy 4 reds, 4 blacks, so that Thorne can then think about going for the one snooker that he needs. Well, that's the end of Thorne's hopes in this 5th frame.
1.
There's 1 red fewer for Thorne to get a black off. So now both players know
6.
that after this 5th frame, Davis is going to be 4-1 up.
7. 14. Steve Davis, 14, frame, Steve Davis.
Willie Thorne concedes. Steve
Danger.
Davis.
From Studio 7 in Toronto, CBC Sports presents the best in world-class snooker. The top players in competition for the BCE Canadian Masters Snooker Championship. Tonight, it's the final frames for the Canadian Masters title as the game's #1 ranked player, Steve Davis, a three-time world champion, meets Willie Thorne, #7 in the world rankings and winner of the '86 Camu Hong Kong Masters. World-class snooker, world-class action. It's the BCE Canadian Masters.
Good evening and welcome to the final program of the BCE Canadian Masters. All this week we've been treated to marvelous snooker action. We've been entertained by the world's top 8 players. Now just 2 of them are left. Willie Thorne, #7 in the world rankings. He's beaten Steve Davis in their last 2 meetings. He's a brilliant break builder and has had no fewer than 65 147 breaks in practice. Steve Davis, the consummate player, the master cue man, the world's #1 player. It would be quicker to tell you what he hasn't won than what he has. Is he going to win the Canadian Masters? Well, it certainly looked like it when he established a 4-1 lead on Sports Weekend earlier today. Davis also took a 41-5 lead in the 6th frame, which is where we rejoin the action with our commentator, Clive Everton.
Beautiful safety from Davis, opening the red slightly, and perhaps, as Thorne realises all too well, paving the way for a decisive break in this 6th frame. Davis already 36 points in front. And unless Thorne contrives a miraculous escape here, Davis should clinch the frame at his next visit to the table. Well, I don't think he should commit himself to anything here before he consults his lawyer. He may do himself a powerful damage, but there's no time for that. He's got to do something. No red near a cushion, no cluster to nestle into. I think he can only really trust to luck. Well, not too bad. Thorne calculated that at that speed, if he got a thin contact on the red 3rd right, he would leave nothing. Just went by it by an inch or so, but pretty good escape, really. 4 points well spent. Well, Thorne will be wearing out that piece of carpet behind the green. If Davis puts him there much more often. Same again then, he hopes. Well, how bad is it? Davis would like to pot red to the right-hand corner. If he can't, he's got alternatives to the left-hand middle and to the right-hand middle, although for the latter, he would have to bridge over a ball. Red to the right corner is certainly the shot if it will go.
One.
Not perfect positionally. Davis should pot this, but it's not a certainty from there.
Eight.
The nearest red appears to be unpottable to the left-hand corner. This one is more difficult.
Nine.
Or at any rate, more difficult than the other one would have been if there hadn't been another red in the way of it. The red lowest in the picture is constituting a slight problem for Davis. It prevents him getting on the black easily. So rather than risk losing position, he elects to play for blue. So Thorne needs a snooker. And Davis is perfectly laid snooker behind the green, paying its expected dividend. $34. $35. $42. $43.
51.
The yellow gets it back on its own spot and makes it easier for him to play position thence to the green.
Steve Davis, 51 frames.
Doesn't matter if he missed it though. Another solid break, extending Steve Davis's lead to 5 frames to 1.
To 1. So now as we go into the 7th frame, he's well on his way to a 6-1 lead, and he's ahead again, 56-0.
And just for a change, it's Davis who's got the problem to solve. Nothing much on here. Got a good safety. And a good safety from Thorne engineers him an opening. He's 56 behind though, coming to the table, so he's got to make it count.
One. Eight. Nine. Sixteen. 17. 24. 25.
It's not easy to retain your fluency after you've been frozen out for most of a session.
32.
But Thorne's taken 4 reds, 4 blacks quite nicely.
33. 40.
Played to leave an angle on the red second right of picture, so that in potting it he could disturb the red right of picture.
One. 44.
Hasn't played that too well. He wanted the cue ball further away from the cushion than that. The last red isn't the easiest to get on. Indeed, he's still not on it. It is possible, but some players would lay the snooker from this position. The only point with that last shot, good pot, but has sent the blue to a safer position.
53.
Thorne needs the blue to win the frame.
55. 58.
Brown, blue, pink, still needed. Wasn't a great deal of margin to get on the blue, but it was a good shot. Down 56-0. Willie Thorne contrives the superb 80 clearance. Steve Davis leads him though by 5 frames to 2 at the interval.
17 final. Davis then made it 6-2. We go into the 9th frame early. Thorne having potted the only red so far, but he's back at the table again.
One of the great factors in Davis's success is that he really does love the game.
1.
Always enjoys the battle. Indeed, you can't possibly put in the hours needed to reach this kind of standard without loving the game.
9. 16. 17.
First to win 9 frames, takes the Canadian Masters title, and with it a cheque for $37,500.
Willie Thorne, 22.
Can't afford to miss those, Willie. awkward cut back, this. But if the black goes in, a big break could follow.
Steve Davis, 1.
Those sort of shots are always a little bit difficult to judge, though. Cutting them back, the pocket is actually out of vision.
One. Eight. Nine. Sixteen. 17. 23.
'Slightly awkward bridging. Can't reach it with the hand bridge, so it's the spider.
Willie Thorne, 23.
Well, you can never be sure when you're using that implement. Striking downwards as you need to. You've only got to strike just a shade off centre, and you swerve the cue ball unintentionally. It hits the red in the wrong place.
1. 8. 9.
And even more galling from Thorne's point of view is that the reds are very well set. It's quite on the cards that Thorne won't have another shot this frame.
16.
Davis cleared up with 62 in the last frame. This could be a repeat operation. And as well as Davis is playing, Thorne has had at least one chance in both frames played this evening.
24. 31. 52. 38. 39. 44. 45.
To wipe out Thorne's 46-point lead.
Fifty-four. 57.
What you're seeing is perfection. Every shot is finishing up exactly as he calculates it.
61. 66.
So rather as Thorne feared, one chance was enough for Davis.
72.
And with his highest break of the match, the 79 clearance, Steve Davis extends his lead to 7 frames to 2. Well, not exactly how he played it, but certainly effective.
Eight.
He won't be pleased with that, though. He's got to go away from the black area here.
9.
The kiss on the blue sees him further out of position.
14. 15.
Right back in now, though. Both the blue and the red were good shots in their way.
22. 23. 28. 29.
black opening shot hasn't worked out as well as Thorne had hoped. Can't see a potable red in that lot.
Thorne, 36.
More encouraging start for Thorne then, to this 10th frame. He's got to win this one, otherwise he would be 6 down with 7 to play. One of many excellent safeties we've seen from Davis today. Many times Thorne has been tucked in behind the yellow. Several times Davis has engineered himself an opening by that method. Oh, good shot.
1.
He was forced into going for it because there wasn't a way back to the baulk cushion. He wasn't able to play position on the black. But at least he keeps in the game, and he may put Davis in a bit of trouble here. Alternatively, the black may be just potable to the middle, even if that would be a bit on the risky side if he played position for another red.
Willie Thorne, 1.
Slow to the cluster of 4. Shouldn't do much damage. But he misjudged it. Cue ball rebounding off the cushion slightly more squarely than he'd anticipated. He should know the table by now, though.
1.
This is his 3rd match on it.
Eight. 9. 14. 15.
And now Thorne should certainly clinch this 10th frame.
23.
to go 61 in front with 59 on the table.
Thirty. 31. 37. 38.
And he really is so fast and fluent when he gets into break-making situations.
43. 44. 50. 51. 58. 60. 63.
It was a very good positional shot for green.
67.
So the last three colours. Would give Thorne
72.
the highest break of the match so far.
78.
An 85 clearance enables Willie Thorne to administer the whitewash to Steve Davis in the 10th frame. Davis still leads though by 7 frames.
He did maintain that form to take a 42-0 lead in the next frame, the 11th. But don't forget, Davis still leads 7-3.
Got it pretty close. I just wonder whether Davis will play another red onto the one that's nearest the pocket. So a chance for Davis then to make big inroads on Thorne's 42-point lead.
Seven.
The only spot available for the pink is the yellows.
Eight. 14.
Easy enough to pot the right hand red, but the red next to it is making the positional side of that shot difficult to work out.
15.
Davis therefore comes onto the open side. Choice of shot here. He either plays cue ball off the top cushion to come back for the top red, or he goes into the pack. Well, that's just about the worst angle that he could be on the blue. Straight or straight-ish to either baulk pocket would have given him a chance to get back on the reds. So he takes pink instead. And although he didn't play for the difficult red, it may prove a blessing in disguise that he's dropped on it.
$28. $33. $34.
Davis won the last but one frame from 45 behind. He was 42 behind in this one, so it could be a repeat performance. Still some work to do though to sort out the three lower reds.
Steve Davis, 34.
And in concentrating on his position, he took his eye off the comparatively simple pot. Only half hit the blue, in fact. So instead of Davis having a chance to go to 8-3, Thorne has a chance to narrow the gap to 3 frames at 7-4.
$6. $7.
Not the angle he wanted on the black.
Willie Thorne, 7.
Well, he went for it boldly, but it was difficult. So a frame clinching chance goes begging. At least Thorne has not left Davis anything easy, although that of course was a matter of chance. Not to say, though, that Davis couldn't cut this red in.
One.
Plus a helpful kiss on the green.
Four. Five.
Would have preferred to have come back just a little more. Potting angle on the blue is a little on the thin side. Quite awkward from there to control position onto the yellow. The pink is possible, but that doesn't offer the ideal angle to get on the yellow either. One possibility is to play a soft screw from the blue to cannon onto the brown. Tony LeMay, one of the game's great coaches, based here in Toronto. And that was exceptionally well judged.
Steve Davis, 10.
Well, once Davis had got over his difficulty from blue to yellow, I expected him to win the frame. Thorne smiles ruefully because at least Davis has covered the yellow with the green. Well, Thorne's idea was to move the yellow a great deal more than that. So Davis gets another chance to clinch this frame.
Two. Five.
To level the score. Brown, blue, pink, therefore, still needed.
Nine. Fourteen.
This pink then for an 8-3 lead. His body down quite as much as he would like, because he's afraid of fouling the black. But he got it down well enough. So Steve Davis takes yet another frame from behind. He leads Willie Thorne by unlucky.
71.
Anything but full ball contact on the pink would have left something easy. But that 71 break has virtually clinched the title for Davis. Thorne comes to the table 71 points behind and only 67 on the table. A hint of desperation in that attempt at the cross double.
One.
And that surely is it.
Eight. Nine.
Steve Davis will feel delighted, I'm sure. He wasn't at his brilliant best in his first match this week, in which he beat Jimmy White 5-2.
14.
In fact, it could easily have been 5-2 the other way.
15.
But after a slow start against Alex Higgins in the semi-final, he came good with a total clearance of 143.
22.
And he's played like a colossus ever since.
23. 31. 34. 36.
And it looks very much as if he's going to finish off the match with his 8th half-century.
39.
Pretty good going in 12 frames.
43.
And he certainly would have made the half-century had he considered it important. And it is, though, a truly majestic performance from Steve Davis. Gives him the second Canadian Masters title.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have our presentation ceremonies, and it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce two gentlemen who will conduct these presentation ceremonies. First of all, Mr. Gus Ness, who is the National Sales Manager, BCE Distributors Incorporated. And to assist Gus in the presentations, Mr. Paul Heatherall, Tournament Director for the World Professional Body. There are two, but actually three, decent checks to be awarded this evening. The first is to our runner-up, and it goes this evening $22,500 to the runner-up in the second BCE Canadian Masters, Mr. Willie Thorne. And the first money, $35,000, plus the bonus that goes to the high break, that incomparable 143 break that we had in yesterday's semifinal, to the 1986 BCE Canadian Master Champion, the man who was a finalist a year ago and came back, now we can say, vowing that he would be the champion this year, Mr. Steve Davis. what you came here to do, and I think these people, having seen you, you've thrilled them throughout the entire week with your impeccable play. Now you can talk to them.
That was last night. No, well, I'm highly delighted to have... this is my first time I've ever won in Canada. We've been coming a few years, and it's nice that the BCE Classic's only been run for the second year, and I'm very delighted to have won it. I've always enjoyed playing in Canada. The people appreciate good snooker. It's a shame that the game isn't as popular as it is in England, and I'm sure it's nice that BCE are sponsoring it, and I think perhaps with the Bats' help as well, perhaps they might even sponsor the game a bit at amateur level in this country, which could raise the standards even higher. But I'm delighted to have won. Commiserations to Willie. It wasn't his day, but I'm very pleased to have played so well.
Our congratulations to the 1986 BCE Canadian Masters champion, Mr. Steve Davis.